Hi guys, and welcome to my review of the SIMGOT EM2 Roltion and the SHANLING Sono. I decided to do this review together and not separately for a very simple reason. Not so much as to find out who is the winner, but more to show basically two groups or two styles of tuning when it comes to 1+1s or let's say IEMs that almost have that 1+1 configuration. And I say almost because the SHANLING actually is in fact a 2DD plus ABA. Okay, so it's actually two coaxially mounted DDs, a 9.2 millimeter and a 6.8 millimeter. So that's basically the only one that kind of doesn't follow the premise which the rest of the IEMs that I have chosen are following. Anyway, what do I have here before I actually go into the unboxing, so that I can explain better the whole idea here? Well, we have two groups of tuning here. We have this group of tuning on the left hand side, which we have the KZ Kriller, we have the GIZ Audio, LITZ Galileo, and obviously the Roltion, which have a more relaxed bass presentation. There's no bleeding to the mids, so it's kind of a gliding type of a bass, but very with a very a quick transition from bass into into the mids, being very neutral. So no bleed, no nothing. So there's, you could call it kind of a lack to a certain extent of mid-bass impact, which isn't the reality, but let's put it that way. And when I show you the graphs, you'll understand what I mean. And then we have this group on this side, which we have the C Audio Rinco, we have the Richo Spring 2, and we have obviously the SHANLING, which have a more mid-bass prominent lower section. It's not that the sub bass is rolled off, but it's just got a bump in the mid-bass, and then like the situation also with the other IEMs on the left hand side, it's then the various degrees of energy on the mids, the upper mids and treble, and the way that initial pinna gain is done, that then changes. Okay, it's that variation there that then will then be the other differentiating factor. Although the thing that really stands out is the bass, how it's handled on either one of them. Anyway, let's get straight into this, and I'm actually going to start with the SHANLING. Okay, this is the box of the SHANLING. Simple. Inside the box, you open it up. Very simple affair. Nothing too outrageous. The IEMs came over there. Underneath that, we had the accessories, tips, and the cable. Inside here of this other box, which is called accessories, we have the case, which I'll show to you now in a second. Okay, and it has, I've actually put the tips in here as well. You can see it's got plenty of tips, nothing to complain about in that aspect. This is the stock cable. It is okay. I mean, I would have liked to have seen a nicer cable, but it's fine. It's not offensive or anything of the sort. Okay, so let's just get this all out of the way here. So that's the box of the Sono. In the back of the box, there's the usual basic characteristics. Just some stuff with regards to the overall specs. 16 ohm impedance, 103 dB sensitivity, 16 to 40k. 16 hertz to 40,000 hertz frequency response. Nothing too, just the basic stuff that we always like to know. All right. Anyway, that's the SHANLING for you. This is the carrying case of the SHANLING. Nice, small, relatively small, plenty space inside to fit. The SHANLING, besides being a dual DD, does have then another interesting thing, which is it's got these tuning nozzles. Okay, you can see here. One has a red ring, which is the one here, and one has a black ring, which is the one that I've got actually on. And what is the difference between these tuning nozzles? The black one, which is the one I've got on, gives a more balanced sound, while the one with the red rubber gives a more bassy reproduction. They actually call it balanced and universal, and the other one bassy and fun. I find the mids on both of them to be about the same. There's really not much of a difference. It's the bass energy that does change, but ultimately the one that makes the most sense, at least for me, the one that actually makes the Sono become quite a pleasure to listen to once you've also overcome a few other issues which I'll mention to it, is the one with the black ring. It's got more than suffice bass on that with that nozzle, and you know, actually putting the black nozzle in the red nozzle, sorry, doesn't, in my opinion, improve sound in any way. I'm actually using a TRN cable, which is actually not bad. It's actually not a bad cable. The IMs themselves are pretty small. They've got they kind of remind me a little bit of the oxygens. Nice weight to them. You know, they feel premium. They feel well built. They've got a nice nozzle length, and on the nozzle, it's also the nozzles are also relatively thick, relatively wide. Nothing to worry about, but it's relatively wide. The length, above all, is the thing that I really appreciated, because it allows for a deep insertion. And this is one of those IMs that tips are of the utmost importance. You do not find the right tip, or you do not put the right tip, and you don't allow the IM to sit really deep, and you will be somewhat disappointed with the sound of the Sono. That's exactly what happened in the beginning when I first heard the Sono. You know, I was trying to use a bigger size tip like I usually use. I was trying to use the 07, but the yellow size, and the sound just was off. It wasn't anything that was really, you know, impressing me. And actually, for some reason which I don't understand, my particular one, could have been just a mistake, but my particular one actually brought the red filters on. So the sound was overly V-shaped, in the sense that I had too much bass, and it was just very recessed in the mids, and I just didn't enjoy it. And then you know, I had a few other reviews to do, and then when I started getting more into this, I went and looked, and I saw, okay, let me now change the nozzles. The moment I changed the nozzles, things improved, and then the moment I then started playing around with the tips more seriously, and then put these 07 tips, the medium-sized ones, which allowed me to really deep make a deep insertion of the IM to my ears. Then things came alive in a completely different way, much nicer. I mean, completely different beast. Going back just to the weight and the shape and so on, if you get the right tip, the weight that it has, which, you know, it's got a nice weight to it, and the fit on in no way an issue. If you cannot, you know, put it deep into your ear canal and have to have a tip which makes it sit a little bit more outside, it can kind of wobble itself and fall off. It can. All right. Anyway, that's the Sono for you in its initial presentation. Physically, you know, fit, once you get the right tip, is fine. The quality of the build, it's fine. It looks way more premium than what its roughly $80 price tag would make you believe. And it looks the part. It really looks the part. You can see that they've done their work. Just to mention one more thing is that obviously the on such a small size here, the BA sits in the nozzle, which has positives and has negatives, as we all know. Okay, so that's that. To go up against it, I've got here, like I mentioned, the spring and the Rinco. Any one of these three, more so these two, is very tip dependent. Very tip dependent. You don't get the right tip and they just will not sound right. The Rinco is very much, and this is even going to be a hard one for me to say, but it's very much cable dependent. And it's one of the very few times that I've actually seen cables, which I have as cables that are working decently, change very much how the Rinco comes across. I can say that, for example, using some nice HDK cables, and I'm talking some of the nicer ones from nice HDK, I was not impressed or nor disappointed with the performance of the Rinco. I just thought it was okay. But then actually trying out this simpler cable, which is, and this cable actually, you won't believe it, this is actually a cable from this is the stock cable from a Tansio Mirai SIMGOT. And this cable measures really, really well. The problem with this cable is the ear hooks, which I've removed, which pushes the whatever earphone you have attached to them always out. But with this cable in particular, or with another cable from IVipQ, which I like using, but that's a cable already of about $250. But with this cable, the performance of the Rinco is really nice. I stand by what I said when I did my review to it. It's a nice IM, but I prefer, for example, the Galileo over it. No issues. It's a way more balanced, way more coherently sounding IM. The whole thing of the Rinco being a bass monster and this and that, I don't concur with that. Yes, it's got loads of bass, but it's not the best quality bass. Okay, that's my opinion. So Rinco. As for the spring, I reviewed it recently, and it's one of those IMs that, when you look at the graph, you kind of say, oof, this is going to be a roller coaster, because it's somewhat all over the place when it comes to the above 1K area. It's got a relatively early pin again, and it's a roller coaster from there onwards. And then when you actually hear it, it actually is nice sounding. It will be somewhat genre dependent, as actually, if I have to be totally honest, these IMs here are not the most they will be versatile in what genres they can play to a certain degree, but if I have to say the IM here that is the most versatile, I'll probably say it's the Kriller, to be totally honest. This is probably the most versatile IM of all of them. It's the one that will play more genres to a greater extent with realism, with quality. Okay, the others will be more specific, will shine on specific genres and not do so well on others. All right. And as I was saying, the Spring, I enjoy the sound. It's got that nice mid bass thump going for it, like any one of these threes have. But what surprised me the most was how nicely done actually the upper mids and the treble are. Although graphically they look all over the place, it's nice, and it doesn't take much to see how nice and detailed they actually are and how clean they are, because they really are well executed. And all you have to do is, for example, listen to a song, let's say Feels Good from Rashaan Patterson on the Rinco, and straight away go on the Spring. And first of all, you might get the perception that there's less bass there, when in reality, no, there's not less bass. What you do have there is a quicker, cleaner bass that's not as thick sounding as the bass here, which this can be, because of its thickness, perceived as, wow, crazy bass monster. But no, that bass there is quicker, it's cleaner, it's as energetic as here, but that bass is accompanied by a nice clean mid, upper mid and treble presentation, which this one does not do as well. And it kind of changes the whole dynamics of how the IM come across. And in my opinion, the Spring is a superior IM to the Rinco. No issues there. It's not even, oh, but maybe not. It's a better IM than the Rinco. The Sono. The Sono takes the formula of the Spring and polishes it up here and there. They very much trade blows. Okay, in the setup that I have now, which is with the black nozzle and using these tips, the 07 blue tips, yes, it does have a little bit less bass sometimes than that, although if I put the other nozzle, then it's got more bass, but it's got a little bit less bass than that. But what it does have is, and this was actually a surprise, because the fact of the BA being in the nozzle is not usually the ideal. The same situation over there. It gives me somehow a bigger sense of sound stage, of air here than I get over there. Okay, coupled to mids, which are I'm not going to say the mids are better. They just sound tonally different. They sound. I gravitate more times towards the mids on the Sono than I do on the mids on the Spring. But as I said in the beginning, both of them are excellent. I would be happy with any one of them, and both of them, in my opinion, are superior to the Rinko, easily superior to the Rinko. I mean, if you want a bass monster to match the Rinko, just put on the red nozzle tips over here, and you got a bass monster that will match that easily, and with still better quality bass. But with the black nozzle, black ringed nozzle, the bass you get here is phenomenal. It's clean, it's got good speed, good texture, a timbre and tonality is, very nice, non-offensive. In terms of the rest of the characteristics, like I said, the soundstage is nice. The imaging, okay, it's not bad. Detail retrieval again is okay, not bad. I mean, for the price, I guess you can say you can accept it. For me, definitely what stands out here is just that overall timbre and tonality that you have. It just sounds very agreeable. It's a nice, easy to listen IEM that doesn't really offend you. It's not an IEM that will be the ideal if you want to do monitoring or anything of the sort. What do I find, or which genres I think will be good with this? Rock will be good with this. I listened to one or two rock songs, and it sounds really good on here. Genres with a little bit more, again, of bass, like some hip hop songs and so on, also sound very nicely. The genres that maybe are not at its best here, classical, some acoustic stuff as well, just sounds. It's not even muddy the right word. It just doesn't sound realistic. It sounds just a little bit fake. But overall, the what I can say about the Sono is that it's a positively done, executed, tuned. I'm trying to find the best word. It's well tuned for what it is. It's not supposed to be a Harman tune. Actually, out of all these IEMs here, the two that perhaps have the more traditional Harman style tune will be the Galileo and the Killer. The others all have very alternative styles of tuning. This is very prominent V, but it's alternative because it's not like the usual V that you see. And these three definitely have this. I don't even really know how to call this style of tuning, but it's a different style of tuning. But they've all of them are well executed, in my opinion, within their tuning styles. Some more, some a little bit less, but all well executed. So I would say that yes, it's a positive recommendation from me. Go check it out. Have an opportunity to listen to it. Like I said, to my ears, to my music that I listened to, it sounded fine. I mean, one of the songs that I really enjoyed listening to on the Sono, because it just sounded really good. I mean, it was done perfectly, or well, not one, but there were several, but Swept Away from Carol DuBach. It just sounds tremendous. It sounds nice. It's got it conveys that song's true nature. Even things like Fragile from Sting, amazing. I was really impressed. Way nicer here than on the Rinko, for example. Way nicer. The same thing with the Spring. The Spring 2, playing Fragile, amazing. Kingston Town from UB40. I mean, who doesn't know that? Fantastic. Honestly, you want to see how, if you want a song that will show how the Sono is capable, Kingston Town from UB40. That's a song there for you. Okay. Or Deeper as well from Pete Velasco, another song that will really show how nice this IEM can be, or how nice it is. La Belle Dame Sans Remorse from Chris Botti, another one. 80s from Bruno Miller, another one that really does it all. They really, for me, it does it like it should be done, period. Okay, end of story. That's the Sono. On to the SIMGOT. The SIMGOT box is SIMGOT never disappoints, and the presentation of the box is always very nice. The graphic, the design, the effort they put into it is really nice, and the experience is a really it's a premium experience. You open it up, then you open this, you get all the story going on here and explaining how everything is and how everything isn't. You take that away. IEMs came over there. Over here came the carrying case. Plenty tips, wide bores and narrow bores. The cable was a little bit of a disappointment, I'll be honest. I was expecting a better cable, especially considering that this is now $109 roughly. But it is what it is. It's really my only remark there. Okay, that's the case roughly. Nothing too dramatic. As well, some characteristics in the back here with regards to sensitivity and all of that stuff. Case. We've seen this case before. It's but a nice case, nicely finished inside, relatively, will protect nicely the IEMs, and it's got enough space for me to actually put another cable in there. As you can expect, obviously I didn't use the stock cable. I've actually got here a Panon, an S4 cable. Works very, very nicely with this IEM, actually. A really nice synergy between this cable and this IEM. As for the IEM itself, it's really tiny, really, really tiny. It's an all plastic or resin. I would say this is more plastic than resin. Yes, definitely plastic. All resin, all plastic shell, sorry. It's got a CNT driver, 10mm, and a 33518 BA in the nozzle, which again has its positives and its negatives. The nozzle, this one's got a big nozzle. That's a big boy. That's a chunky boy there. And if you look carefully, you can just make out the BA behind it. All right, the actual grill there. So yeah, I mean, the construction isn't bad, but compared to other offerings from SIMGOT, you could say that okay, this could be slightly better. I mean, this is roughly, let me put it to you this way. This is roughly the same price as the EM6, the Phoenix, the new release that they have. Okay, so I'm assuming that they will probably drop the price on this now. All right. The cable, as I said, is the Panon cable. Fit, perfect, no issues. I'm using the green stock tips that it brings, which are plenty good. Plenty. These tips work beautifully. These tips and the KBE Aero 7s or the nice HDK or the BGVP 08 and 07 tips, those are my go-to tips, really good. And these particular ones here, and I tried a few. I even tried complies, and I would say yes, use a comply if you want to just lower a little bit the peaks that it has at 5 and then past 5K. Use the complies, but otherwise, if you can, go for the use the stock tips. They work beautifully. So I've got here the Galileo and the Krilla. Similar tune, similar graph, more harmonish, not on the same page in terms of how the graph is. In terms of the sound, it's a V-shaped, a very well executed bass in my opinion. It's got good speed, good detail, good resolution. Tonally it's correct. It's a nice bass. It's a nice executed bass. It's more present here, the bass, than it is on the other two offerings, where the bass is purposely relaxed. More so on the Galileo than on the Krilla. The bass on the Krilla actually is not bad. Mids slightly recessed, especially compared to those two, but it's more a recession which is down to the fact that you have this really, let's say, this really not thick, but this really big bass. Okay, but it's a little bit recessed, more noticeable on the female vocals actually. And then you got then upper mids and treble again being emphasized, and they very much present. The fact that it has the BA on the nozzle does help out towards things like creating a false perception of a huge soundstage, coupled as well with the larger diameter nozzle. It does, and for the most part, it didn't offend me, I'll be honest. For the most part, I actually thought it wasn't bad. Although you could feel that it was a false kind of soundstage, and you could feel a little bit the BA timbre, as you can feel it here and as you can feel it there. You can feel the BA timbre. Perhaps the only one that doesn't come across that much is the Galileo. But on all of these, you can feel the BA timbre, and it wasn't offensive as long as there's no hissing or no sibilance. It doesn't really bug me too much. The Roltion is one such case. The BA is in a position which isn't the ideal, but the reason why it's there versus the negatives that it can show, I prefer the reason why it's there, which is to give you this perception of a bigger soundstage. And to that end, it's probably the one that I would say has the biggest sense of space, probably. It's not that it's a huge difference to the Roltion or to the Spring 2 or to the Galileo it's not like, but there is it is noticeable. You can pick up on it. And again, what songs will you pick up on it? For example, Kingston Town. is a song where you will pick, where you'll see that the Roltion is just a little bit bigger, but nothing that's gonna be like a deal breaker or that will make you think that the others aren't capable. No. What more can I then say? Bass, mids, treble is the only area where maybe it can be a little bit over energetic for some. Myself personally, I do have issues with 5K sometimes being a problem for me. Sometimes 8K or just past 8K can also be an issue. But as long as you insert it deep, and this also allows for a relatively deep insertion, it doesn't bug me. It honestly doesn't bug me. Oh, well, coupled to that, I'm also going deaf, so it definitely won't maybe be an issue for me as it is for those of you that still have their full hearing capabilities. Compared then to the Krilla and to the Galileo. Look, the Galileo, and I'll at the end I'll repeat everything just very briefly, but to compare them, it's not entirely fair because they are tuned so differently that they all do what they are supposed to do very well. Here it was all about being smooth, and it is super smooth. And I preferred, like when I tested the Rinko, I preferred this smoothness over this fun, because this fun here for me just wasn't well done. The premise, in my opinion, of the tuning here on the Rinko wasn't properly executed, while the premise of the tuning on the Galileo, which was to be relaxed, it was well done. So this is chilled out, relaxed, but it's well done. It is nice. It's a very unfatiguing kind of listen. What is its biggest drawback? There's not much extension. The treble is a little bit closed down, okay? And to that end, the Krilla is kind of fixing that problem there, because the Krilla does have a lot of similarities. It's got a little bit, although graphically it seems like it's got the same kind of bass. No, it actually got more bass. It's actually got slightly more bass, but then the upper mids and treble are way more alive here than they are on the Galileo. And if I have to be honest, I would probably choose the Krilla over the Galileo more times, even knowing that the Galileo would probably be more relaxing and more unfatiguing to listen over a longer period of time. I would still choose this, and it's basically down to the fact that I said that this one is probably the one that is the most genre versatile. The Krilla is a nice IM. It has been well tuned. It's a perfect example that a brand like KZ, which has been in the center of so many controversies over the past year or so, they can do things properly. I can only imagine now, well, I'm hoping, but the next version of this setup, because that's the way they work, if they do things like I would be thinking, the next version of this setup will be tremendous. But again, keep in mind, this is $20, give or take, depending on where you're getting it. For $20, the performance that it offers, you cannot go wrong. The SIMGOT, the Roltion, it has, in my opinion, the best bass of the three, without question. And it has, I wouldn't say the best mids. The best mids, it's a difficult one, but it has the most, even with that recession that it has the most realistic mids to a certain extent. I can't really put my finger there. It's not that the mids here on the Krilla are not realistic, or the mids there aren't realistic. No, they are perfect with the imperfection. With all of the imperfections that the mids here on the Roltion can have, especially with the fact that they are being recessed, they are perfect, and they just sound very very appealing. You swap between the three of them, and you listen to a couple of songs, and very easily you start seeing yourself going towards the Roltion, quite often with the Krilla being the second alternative. You see yourself kind of staying between these two and not going so much into the Galileo. You listen to like Deja Vu from Scarlet Pleasure. Amazing. It's a nice, engaging song, and the voice, it's really well done here. I'll post the playlist like I usually do, so you guys can afterwards just look for the song there and check it out. Mary Magdalene from Michelle Ningocelo. Again, it does it really. It's got it's like the Sono. This, I don't know what it is about the SIMGOT and the Sono. And well, if I have to be totally fair, SIMGOT, Sono, and Richo, the three of them, I don't know what it is, but they just have this very appealing thing to them. You know, you see yourself ending up listening to them more often than what you would think. And I guess, well, maybe in my case, it's, you know, because when you look at the graph, you kind of say, okay, and then you are so surprised by how they actually are doing those songs, that it proves that graphs, yes, are an important factor to kind of give you a general idea, but they are not the true ultimate representative of, or representation of, how an IM will sound. Fair enough. Having said that, obviously you look at the graph of the Krilla or the graph of the Galileo, and it is safe. There are graphs which are safe, and you will know that you will definitely like them. While over here, because of all that, you know, ups and downs and all those peaks, you kind of say to yourself, will this be good? Won't it be good? You know, how will it come across? You have more doubts, and obviously more often than none, actually, you actually are disappointed, the truth be told. So to kind of, technically, sorry, I was forgetting about, technically, soundstage, it's fine, like I mentioned. You know, imaging as well, very decent. Detailed retrieval, decent. You know, again, I would say that the technical abilities of the Roltion are good. They're not the best considering the price, but they are good. It's not, once again, it's not an IM that will be an IM perfect for monitoring or anything of the sort, but it will be a nice, easy to listen to IM if what you like listening to more commonly is, I would say, some you know, if you like some more relaxed electronic music, this will be a good option for that. If you like male vocals, it will do those male vocals in a nice manner. Rock, I think it might not be the ideal because it lacks a little bit of that mid-bass punch that you get on the Sono. But overall, it's a nice sounding IM. It's a solid sounding IM. I would say, again, listen to it, obviously. And I think the biggest issue that it will probably have is the fact that you now have, well, the EM6 basically at the same price, and the EM6 just completely walks all over the EM2. I mean, it's, you know, the reality is that. So this will be very niche, will be very much for a specific group of people that appreciate this tuning, and that will, you know, appreciate its size, and of course, you know, the price is right for them. At the price that it has now, which is comparable with the EM6, it doesn't make sense to choose this. EM6 is a better sounding IM. Anyway, guys, I hope I was able to kind of explain things. I know I sometimes ramble a little bit, but you know, I'm trying to figure out the proper words to say. But I hope I was able to kind of position these IMs nicely. The Roltion in this group or this style is probably the one that I would choose first, ultimately, the Krilla and then the Galileo. But all of them, the reality is all of them are very nicely tuned, very nicely executed, relaxed, more alive, kind of a nice in-between, let's put it that way, okay? And in this group here, where you have that more mid-bass liveliness, the one that I would again probably choose in first place, well, actually, first place will belong to these two, because they really sound both very, very comparable, although graphically it doesn't seem like it. And then the Rinko last. Like I said, this is nothing. I know there's a lot of people that really enjoy the Rinko, and good for you. You know, this is the beauty of this hobby. What we don't all have to like oranges, we can like apples and pears and apricots and whatever have you. But I just feel that the Rinko is maybe a little bit overrated. You get better performance from other IEMs, even at cheaper prices, will give you the same kind of vibe, but with better with a better execution than here, because here the whole thing was bass. Okay, so again, if I have to make like that kind of analogy of fun, more balanced, this is definitely the one that's the most bassy, but not necessarily the good quality bassy. So I guess probably best suited for the bass head. And then these two will kind of be the most balanced overall. So bass head and this is a tough one. I would say bass head, balanced and treble focused, maybe. Okay, balanced and a little bit treble focused over there. I'll probably say that would be like my final judgment. Show you the graphs next, and we'll wrap it up afterwards. All right, you take care now. Bye bye. Hi guys, and welcome now to the graph section for the SHANLING Sono and the SIMGOT EM2 Roltion. As I mentioned, they basically distinguish themselves by how the bass is executed. Three of these IEMs that are in the comparison, or three of them have this kind of gliding, very neutral kind of gliding bass, while three of them have got a more prominent mid bass, also gliding with more prominent mid bass with more bleeding to the mids. And then it's basically kind of a question that comes down to how energetic the mids, upper mids and treble are done, and how they match up with the remaining part of the spectrum. Anyway, let me just clear some graphs away so that we can start seeing things in a better way and understanding what's going on. The first graph I'm going to show you here belongs to the Sono, and this is with the setup that I preferred, which was using the black tip, the black nozzle, sorry. With the red nozzle, you get this extra bass energy, which in my opinion just further compounds a little bit of the bleed that's present, and it doesn't really do it any help. It doesn't. So I left it with the black. It's got more than enough bass. This peak that you see here in the 4 or 5K area isn't really prominent, or it doesn't really bug me, because this kind of energy that you have back here does help camouflage it. Everything sits within a window of, so this is roughly 60 to 75, so you'd say 15 dBs, but the majority of it sits within a window of about 10 dBs. All right, I think that's a more accurate way of actually putting it, because this peak is not really there. Or not really as noticeable as you would think. And as I mentioned, the sound, it's a fun sound. It's really engaging, really fun. It's got plenty of treble, plenty of upper mids and treble, loads of detail. It has a good sense of space. It's a nice sounding IEM. Okay, I compared it then with two other IEMs. One was the Rinko, which is supposedly the space monster, and as you can see, no, not really. Maybe just a little bit more sub-bass rumble, or you'll notice that bass more because it doesn't have the same sort of mids, upper mids and treble that we find on the SHANLING. The SHANLING in that just completely, there's no comparison. The one sounds dead by comparison. And which is surprising, because supposedly this planar driver that's being used there is gonna confer a whole lot of detail and this and that, and that's not really the case, because if you look carefully, assuming that this area is a coupler related peak, from 4K it drops. You have this drop of energy, so you got bass, mids, upper mids, you got some energy there, drops, and then you got some energy then again past 10. So it's a W kind of signature, and you lose a lot of information here. The treble, the twinklies and the sparklies are not there as they should be. And the other one that I also compared it to was the Richo, the Spring 2. Both of them are very similar. We have a little bit of a peak, a quicker peak of the pin again on the Spring 2, but then everything kind of, when you actually start trying to even everything out, they are very similar. There's no peaks at 5K that like really stand out. They're very similar. They end up being very similar. And the Richo, the Spring 2, compared to the Rinko, is the same situation. I mean, much better. It's got way more detail, way more treble. It's a superior IEM in my opinion as well. Okay, so this is the one group of IEMs, and then the second group of IEMs are the ones comprised then by the Krilla, the LITZ, Galileo, and the SIMGOT. The graph of the SIMGOT is this. So it's got this really nice relaxed bass. I mean, it's flat by 200, just over 200 hertz. It's flat, very progressive pin again, peaks at about 2, a slight dip, and then you have this area which well, this is very much the fact that the BA is sitting in the nozzle, which gives you this energy here. However, you know, yes, it can be a little bit bright. Yes, it can be a little bit, but it never reaches a point, in my opinion, where it becomes offensive or, you know, no. And then it's got a really nice, good sense of 3D-ness, and that's all down to the fact that it's using this wide nozzle. The BA being the nozzle also contributes to that. So yes, you could argue that, okay, but it's a false sense of 3D, a false sense of stage. Fine, even if it is, it has it, it's there, and it's nice, and it's engaging, it's satisfying. I compared it then to the XINHS Audio Galileo. Let me just change the color here so you can see it in a more noticeable color. There you go. And you know, the Galileo is very relaxed, very relaxed. The fact that it kind of starts dropping off at 6K as well is one of the reasons which makes it very relaxed. You know, there's not much treble energy, so it's very smooth. It's a very chilled out listen. Everything sits within a window of 60 to 68, 8 dBs. It's really chilled out. I am not as fun or as engaging as the SIMGOT. And finally, the Krilla over here, again very similar, as you can see, in terms of its execution of the bass and so on, and then it uses also a BA, but the execution of the BA has been done in a way that, yes, although noticeable, you can pick up on the BA unquestionably. It is more relaxed, more chilled out, more actually more along the lines, if I'm to quickly just put back again here the lecture, you know, very similar, very similar graphs. The difference here, let me just quickly change the color of the Krilla to blue so it stands out. The biggest difference that you will probably see here is in the way that the upper mids and treble are done on one and the other. But otherwise, as you can see, bass has never been the issue with the LITZ or with the Galileo. It was just the upper mids and treble that were less energetic, and in the case of the Krilla, it's done in the right amount. You notice that it's there, you notice it's a BA, but it's not offensive or anything. Anyway, guys, that's basically it. I'm just going to put actually the two main IEMs. So this is the EM2, and this is the Roltion. You know, like I said in the beginning of the review, this is not to choose a winner here. No, both of them. One is definitely the Roltion. It's definitely a V-shaped signature. A little bit of recession here on the mids, especially noticeable on male vocals a little bit. Not so much on female vocals. And you know, the SHANLING has got this great amount of mid bass, which bleeds into the mids. You know, detracts, makes things a little bit overly warm, but especially on male vocals. But it's fun and it's engaging. So it's these two IEMs are IEMs that you'll basically choose for what they main premise in terms of sound will be. You know, they're not the IEMs that you would use for monitoring or for ultimate, you know, correct listening. No, if you want that, then I mean, go for a Krilla. The Krilla will do a better job of that, or better even go for the LITZ. That will probably even do a better job than the Krilla. And that's it, guys. I hope I was able to clarify and you know, explain well what both of these IEMs are about. And as always, like and subscribe. Any questions, please smash that button and ask away. All right, you take care now. Bye bye.